Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets, your premier source for Second Amendment news. I haven't been in here for a while. I wanted to tell everybody about a bill that will be coming forth this coming week from the Democrats who are crying like babies. Let me wipe that tear from my eye. They want to take their ball and go home. What do I mean? Stick by and watch this episode of Guns and Gadgets. Alright guys, so the Democrats. Craziness. Before I jump into this, check out USCCA. Links to all this stuff is down below. USCCA is where you're going to have training and legal protection. God forbid you have to utilize some type of armed defense, not just a gun, some type of armed defense. As long as you are in the right, they will have your back. Check them out, uscca.com/GNG. Also check out Big Daddy Unlimited. That link is down below as well, bigdaddyunlimited.com/guns and gadgets. They have some stock. They don't have everything yet. Nobody has everything yet. But I just checked, and I was actually surprised with the amount of firearms that they have. You know, there's an old adage that the actual person, the real person comes out in times of adversity. Well, times are tough if you're an ultra-liberal communist wannabe Democrat, and they are putting forth a bill this week in order to have term limits and mandatory retirements on the United States Supreme Court. I want to go over this. I'm going to read the bill, put it up on screen because it's not very long, but it's actually hilarious. And I will say that I am in favor of this bill. I am in favor of term limits for the Supreme Court. Only if, you ready guys and gals? Only if, prior to considering this bill, they put term limits on themselves, all of Congress, Senate, and the House of Representatives. Hopefully that they do this and they hear the will of the people, because they want the average person who doesn't follow politics and just listens to Facebook and goes online and says, hey, let me see what Instagram tells me I should be angry about today. What they don't want you to know is that many of them, Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, they've all been in office for 30, 40, 50 years. And they want you to think that this one guy who's been in office for 3.5 years is the problem. Come on. Really, let's stop. The guy who's been in office 3.5 years is screwing up their castle. So let's talk to our representatives, say we're absolutely for this bill only if you put term limits on yourselves. All right, so let's get into this bill. First off, the three crybabies who are submitting this are Democrats Ro Khanna from California, Dawn Beyer from Virginia, and Joe Kennedy III, the clown from here in Massachusetts. The bill will be called the Supreme Court Term Limits and Regular Appointments Act, and I'll put it right here on screen for you. See, a bill to establish a process by which the appointment of Supreme Court justices can occur at regular time intervals and for other purposes, being enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. This act may be cited as the Supreme Court Term Limits and Regular Appointments Act of 2020. All right, so page 2, this is the meat and potatoes of it here. It's not a long bill, that's why I want to go over it with you. Supreme Court term limits. In general, Chapter 1 of Title 28 United States Code is amended by adding at the end the following. Term limits. Appointment. The President shall, during the first and third years, after a year in which there is a presidential election, nominate, and with the advice and consent of the Senate, appoint one justice of the United States Supreme Court. So let's take this one paragraph and just destroy it with knowledge, okay? So they're saying that a president, in a year after an election, can only appoint one justice in year 1 or year 3. So in year 2 and year 4, they want to neuter the president of his constitutional authority and responsibility. Now, this is unconstitutional. Right away, this bill is unconstitutional. And if you're one of those people that are saying, but Mitch McConnell and Merrick Garland, or before that, but Joe Biden said, stop it. Watch my videos that have been covering this little process here. And I will let you know that all you need to do is read Article 2, Section 2 of the United States Constitution. You should know it. It is the rules, it's your policy and procedure book for the United States of America. And the president has a job to fill that seat, no matter who the president is, no matter what time it is, no matter when they die, no matter how much time is left in terms. That's all that matters. It's there in the Constitution. But let's continue. Effective date. A justice appointed pursuant to subsection A shall be sworn into office on August 1st of the year on which the appointment is made. So, if, say, Donald Trump appoints somebody January, 18th after he's sworn in, or the 21st after he's sworn in, like he did pretty much with Kavanaugh, they wouldn't be able to swear him in if he was confirmed by the Senate until August 1st, which would give, the rats in Congress, it's not just Democrats either, the rats, all of them, give them a good solid 7.25 months to get all their dirt in and get stuff up to the Supreme Court before a new justice took the seat. Unconstitutional. Senior justices in general, except as provided in subsection B, if there are more than 9 justices on the Supreme Court after an appointed justice is sworn into office, the justice who has served on the Supreme Court for the longest period of time shall be deemed a justice retired from regular active service under section 371B Bravo. Did you catch that? They're telling you in this bill that we're going to pack the court if we get our power. And then what this happens is if there are more than 9, so they're telling you we're going to add 10 or 11 or 12, then the oldest serving judge, whoop, you're retired. Hit the bricks. There is one exception, and that's the next line here. No justice appointed before the date of the enactment of this act shall be required to retire under subsection A. So, grandfathered in. So the current sitting court would be grandfathered in, assuming this gets through, which it shouldn't. This should be laughed right out of Congress, even by Democrats. So an example here. Let's say 10 years from now, we have a Republican president, and then a Democrat president is elected. According to this bill, that person could then appoint 12 justices or 9 justices, insert number here. And if they get approved by the Senate, then anybody before those 9 people, because they would be senior, would be retired immediately. That's how you frickin' pack a court. We're going to put our 9 up, boop, hit the bricks, you other 9, because according to this, you all have been serving for a long period of time. Waiver of advice and consent authority. If the Senate does not exercise its advice and consent authority with respect to the President's nominee to the Supreme Court within 120 days after the nomination, the Senate shall be deemed to have waived its advice and consent authority with respect to such nominee, and the nominee shall be seated as a justice of the Supreme Court. That is the Merrick Garland scenario, where Mitch McConnell in the Senate, who said, we're not even going to have a hearing on this guy because we're not going to vote him in. Well, in that scenario, then Merrick Garland, or insert name here, would automatically become a default Supreme Court justice. What a bunch of babies. So a couple more parts of this bill that we should know. Now, there's another section called senior justices, and the big thing to get out of this is that if a justice retires, then they're going to be called senior justices. They're retired. And they could still work as much as they're able to. So they could act as an extra Supreme Court justice. So they're going to say, oh, there's only 9 on the court, but we have these 3 senior justices in reserve for when we need them. And in this bill, there's a section that says this. When there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court due to the death, disability certification under Section 372, or removal of a justice, the retired Chief Justice of the United States or Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, who has most recently become Senior Justice, shall be designated and assigned to serve as justice until an appointment is made under Section 7. So this, they're saying if say, Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies, then whoever we had that is in this retired pool, is retired most recently, we're going to put them in because according to this bill, depending on what year the president is in, if it's his 2nd or 4th year, he can't appoint anybody anyway. The next part that we should know about is any justice of the United States who has served a total of 18 years as a justice shall be treated as a justice retired from regular active service under this section, unless the justice is otherwise eligible to retire as a result of disability under Section 372. And what this is saying that, hey, listen here, Judge Clarence Thomas, you've been pro 2A, and I'm a staunch Democrat president, and I'm telling you that tomorrow marks your 18th anniversary in the Supreme Court. So guess what? As of tomorrow, your retirement is mandatory. That's what they want to do. Amazing. Again, I am for limiting the lifelong appointments. I am 100% for that because I don't think that anybody should get too comfortable in office. Because when you're in a position of perceived power for a long period of time, you know, it starts to get in your head. Let me look at Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to go get my hair did, and I don't care about you peasants. Oh, wait a minute. Everybody found out about it? Well, I was duped. It's their fault. Please. These people are crooked. They're as crooked as can be. That is why term limits are great. However, no term limits in the Supreme Court until you all in Congress term limit yourself. So that is this bill. In a nutshell, I will have a link down below so that you can read it on your own. Folks, if you want to stay up on the news that is what is becoming of this country, as well as the Second Amendment in and of itself, this is where you should be. Please subscribe to this channel and hit that thumbs up. That helps break the algorithm. Also, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about term limits, not only in the Supreme Court, but in Congress as well. And if you could do me a favor, share this with about 4.7 million people. We would all be very grateful, because the more people in our corner that are in the know, the better off we're going to be when it's time to row that boat across the Delaware again. All right, guys and gals, until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, carry your weapon. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.